Fit for Life Radio, checking in with episode number 65. I'm your host, Gary, with my bro host, play on co host. I hope y'all caught that.
Bro host.
Bro host,
I think we should just always say that now.
Will.
I'm here.
Thrill, Shively.
I made
Today, first, before we dive into our topic, I got to check in with you. See how things are going with 90 Day Fiancé.
Bro, I can't. Like, at this point, like, I feel like I'm too invested. It's like someone who's been in a relationship for a long time that's not happy, but, like, you just, like, have to follow it through. Like, I have to see through what I'm doing. Like, we're almost done. And if you've never watched this show, it's, like, a complete train wreck, but it's the best train wreck you'll ever watch in your entire life. And, like, it really gives you reassurance that you're doing really good in life. Like, you're pretty normal compared to a lot of these people. But, yeah, like, season 7 is tough.
But what I realized, at first I felt guilty for like watching it and digging it. But then you realize there just must be something about it. Because there's like 7, 8 seasons. It's still going.
Dude, there's a following.
Then there's like 4 spinoff shows.
I just saw them, yeah.
There's like Before the 90 Days. There's like 90 Day.
They have a 90-day quarantine.
The Other Way.
Oh, yeah, when
they show them, going to another country, 90-day quarantine. So there's something to it, man.
I think people like to know that there's people out there that are crazier than they are, and it makes them feel good. They're like, oh, yeah, like, I got a good relationship because,
It shows, too, I think, a lot of times how people are afraid to be alone because they're not happy with themselves.
Yes.
So then you have technology, right? Modern technology, which is obviously communications a lot easier now.
You can talk to anybody anywhere.
Because, like, a lot of these people, I went on vacation to Jamaica and hooked up with the lifeguard, and
now we're getting married.
And it's, before that would have just been a fling.
Yep. But then you keep talking to the person
but
forever.
Now you could actually, like, find that person, communicate with that person, and then decide, even though, I mean...
There's a sea of red flags, but I'm just going to swim right through them and not look.
And my thing is, like, a lot of these people have kids.
I know.
And it's like, once you have kids, I feel like you're taking on certain responsibilities.
And you got to, like...
You
have to make more decisions for your kids,
yeah.
I feel like. Like, neither of us have kids, but I feel like outside looking in, that's a pretty, like, I don't know, safe statement.
Well, if you want to, like, date someone who's 20 years younger from a different culture and bring them into your home...
And they're basically a stranger.
Don't have kids.
You spent one day with them and they got married.
That's the stuff that makes me uncomfortable. I'm like,
dude,
like, what do you
that
do?
one was weird.
Like, a lot of these people...
We spent 8 hours together.
8 hours together, and then you have a 5-year-old, and you're bringing basically a stranger to live with them.
To sleep in the same room.
And this is just the people you're seeing on the TV show.
Oh, I know.
So it means at least it's fascinating, man.
I can't do it.
And then some of them, legit, you can tell.
Yeah, it's like a real thing, and they work well together, and but some people, it's like they're really lonely, and this is what I think I need to do.
And there are ones who kind of organically met. Like the one, and those are typically the boring ones.
Yeah.
Like the guy from New Orleans, and he met the girl. She was like his tour guide when he was like in Taiwan or something.
What season was that?
Probably like 4.
We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
We skipped all the way to 7.
So, and they end up just being like, they're both, I don't know, early 30s, and he kind of had a rough childhood, and they just met and clicked and had chemistry, and they ended up kind of like getting along. He was super bachelor though, lived in like this nasty apartment with his, and like he was a bartender at what's it called in New Orleans there?
Oh, Bourbon Street.
Bourbon Street.
Oh, Jesus.
So and there's like bugs everywhere. So she wasn't, going to let that fly. But that's a perfect example. Was she got in there? It's like, we're going to get our own place.
Yeah,
and
we can't.
He kind of stepped it up, and they were relatively drama free. And besides his family,
those aren't fun, man. The drama ones. But
I like the ones where it's like,
like there's a meltdown.
Nerd, finds Brazilian firecracker.
That dude was the worst.
Those go the best.
Colty.
So yeah, if you need some reassurance,
there's like no shortage of that. And then now he's trying to get me to watch my 600-Pound Life, which
600-Pound Life will start There's some good lessons, some good takeaways from
There
that.
are some good takeaways.
I don't want to get sidetracked.
We watch that from a different lens than most people do, I think. But
it's quite fascinating.
I'll get started on that. I'll report back next week.
The crazy thing to me with 600-pound life is, like, you have to have someone like the skin issues you end up having from like
the friction
and stuff.
Bed sores.
That'll be enough, man. Like, you don't even think about that being a problem, but that's like seems like the worst part.
Well, then it gets infected, and like that's a big issue, man.
Mm-hmm.
We could do a whole show on my 600-pound life.
Yep. Like, imagine, you get some new shoes and you get that little heel sore.
Oh, on your whole body.
This is how I was trying to, relate to them, and I was like, dude, that's the worst thing ever.
And it
like,
burns and it
debilitates
hurts
me.
and it.
So then imagine having that like all over from folds and stuff.
I don't want to imagine it.
Oof.
But you kind of do need to.
Oof.
Have a little empathy.
All right. So it really has no connection to what we're going to be talking about.
It doesn't. There's no segue, but we're going to talk about coffee and caffeine today.
Yes, coffee, caffeine, and your health. So we want to go over kind of what the research says, some tidbits that you can apply, some things that are maybe a light bulb moment for you, for people who are unaware.
Yeah, just a couple dots to connect, really. I mean, a lot of it people know, but...
First, let's separate this conversation from coffee drinks, right? So, of course, like you're drinking a, Starbucks drink or putting tons of sugar, cream in your coffee. Yeah, that drink becomes like a super calorie laden, which is a whole separate thing.
Which was last episode.
So, which can cause, if that's making you gain weight, and cause health issues. It's just a calorie thing.
For sake of this episode, we'll talk about black coffee.
Well,
or just
in caffeine.
Caffeine in general,
drinks,
but yeah.
With caffeine, which is coffee or tea, and then obviously you have energy drinks, which can have caffeine in them. And they can also be tons of calories or no calories.
Yep.
But really, it comes down to the effect of caffeine. And most of it's going to be intuitive, based on
how you feel.
In general, I think actually most people think coffee is bad for them.
Yeah.
Because people at one point it's kind of gone through lots of ups and downs. Like, is it good for you?
There's like a lot of things, like eggs, like, oh, they're good.
But I noticed most people feel guilty about drinking coffee.
Yes.
So obviously we're cutting out all the calories. So you're just drinking coffee.
Strip it down.
For the most part, it's going to be beneficial.
Yes.
If it's something you enjoy, it's probably nothing to where if you don't do it, that you need to go like seek it out, and it's going to drastically.
Yeah, it's not going to change
things.
your life in that regard. Even though I really do love a cup of coffee.
Yep. And coffee itself has a bunch of phytochemicals, right?
Yep.
Which may have health benefits. Like, that's also why blueberries may be healthy, right? And really any plant food, there's phytochemicals that could have health benefits, and coffee has a lot of them. In fact,
it definitely does.
It might have more than almost anything.
Would you say that it's a superfood?
Yeah, superfood, right? So, and it also has some vitamins and minerals.
So overall, like on the, just outside in, like coffee is pretty solid.
Yep.
It really is.
Now, a big part of coffee is caffeine. All right, so one problem with caffeine is most people they're unaware of how much they consume.
Yep.
So, and it depends on how you make it, right? But typically, I know 1 tablespoon of coffee, if you're brewing your own, is about 100 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah,
so
that sounds about right.
You normally would use 2 tablespoons for like a cup of coffee. That's like the ratio most would be. So most cups of coffee are about 200 milligrams of caffeine, which is kind of like the general threshold of like, hey, if you want to be safe, keep your caffeine under 200 milligrams a day. So, yeah, that gets out of, if you have 3-4 cups of coffee
or you just put on a pot every day and you get through that whole pot, like it adds up pretty quick.
Yeah, but then you get people who, they drink their coffee, then they maybe also have an energy drink, and then maybe they take some pre-workout.
Yeah.
So you're getting, well over 1,000 milligrams a day.
Yeah, that's triple, man.
So now let's talk about that. What does that mean? Like, what does 200 milligrams to you mean? What does 1,000 to you mean? Well, one major takeaway is that caffeine affects people differently, right? And that's not a vague. It's not a vague thing either. It's pretty much there's a specific gene variant, and you're either a fast metabolizer of caffeine or a slow metabolizer of caffeine.
And usually you'll know too.
Yeah. So
It's pretty apparent, I feel.
and you think, oh, slow metabolizer, like that sounds good, right? Like it's gonna like be in you longer, but that's actually typically a bad thing. So if you're a slow metabolizer of caffeine, you notice the negative side effects from less because it takes longer it's for your body to process to metabolize the caffeine. So you know how sometimes if you drink too much caffeine, you notice yourself you get jittery and anxious.
Or you don't sleep well at night.
You don't sleep well at night. So now if you're a fast metabolizer, you're gonna have to drink a ton of caffeine to maybe notice some of those side effects. Or some people never even notice them at all.
Yep.
So they're obviously like super fast metabolizers. Some people, this is myself, I can drink 100 milligrams, man, like a little cup of coffee,
And you're gonna feel
it. The next day I'll notice with the headache, then when I don't have the caffeine, and I can get real jittery, especially if I have it like without food and stuff. And yeah, ultimately I noticed all the side effects. And I remember for a while, especially, there was a phase where like when you're working out too, you're like, oh, caffeine helps with training, and then there was like it probably got too much of the halo effect where it was like a superfood. So I was like, I got to drink coffee, right? And I would just drink it and just even have one cup a day, and would always feel bad. Ultimately, especially over time,
Like you start to feel worse over time.
Yeah, over time it'll just get worse and worse, and I would always feel jittery and anxious, and I was like, man, like just trying to force it. But then now we know, like, yes, some people are slow metabolizers.
And I think if you're somebody who knows, like, I can't have a cup of coffee past, noon, you're probably a slow metabolizer. For
or you notice
part.
that you're shaking your head. Yes, I do get jittery. I do get anxious.
Yeah, and then the flip side, if you're somebody who, usually people say like, oh, I gotta have a cup of coffee before I go to sleep, and I'm fine. Like Whitney is definitely like that. Yeah, I'm not sure so much anymore, but she can have caffeine pretty late, and she's fine, no big deal. But me, if I have caffeine past noon, game over. I'm not going to sleep well. And then my next day is going to be awful, and then we start that terrible vicious cycle of caffeination.
And if you really want to know, when you do those kind of like 23andMe type things, they're actually able to tell you, the specific, if you like have a fast metabolism or slow metabolism, whatever the gene variant is, it's able to tell you. So, but again, most people, if you pay attention, you can tell. And then with that, so was it more than just feeling jittery and anxious? So yes, it is. Basically, if you're a fast metabolizer of caffeine, there's really only benefits.
Yes.
Because you can because again, a lot of the benefits will come from the coffee, again, the phytochemicals, but then there may be where it actually helps prevent heart disease and things like that, a lot of caffeine, if you're able to metabolize it. It's literally the opposite. People who are slow metabolizers have a higher risk. Caffeine increases their risk of heart disease. So that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way
And I'm sure it's probably related to like your heart rate's more elevated through the day.
And it's a stressful thing, right? Yeah.
So yeah, it's a stressor on the body versus something we'll say nourishing, because in short term it is. And so that completely flips it around on you. So
I mean, I remember I've been jealous of my wife because she can drink coffee all day long before bed.
She's chill, man.
And I'm like, you don't get, I remember asking her before I even knew this stuff, like, you don't get jittery when you drink a bunch of coffee, this, that, because I like the smell of it, taste of it.
I just love coffee.
The ritual of it. I want to enjoy it, but I feel better without it.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
I can do like decaf, of course, like, later in the day. So if I wanted a cup of coffee at home just to have a warm drink, like I have no problem drinking decaf because I just like how coffee tastes and how it makes me feel. It gives you that little hug on the inside that just lets you know everything's okay. Yeah.
So really, if you're a fast metabolizer, you can probably check out, because most of the
you're super lucky. And
most of the
you got
negative
a good dice
stuff
roll.
is going to really come from if you're a slow metabolizer. So you just want to be more careful. And there's levels to this, right? So some people, very little. Some you may be able to get away with some. So in general, like, and I know even if I know from when I have like a Coke Zero or something, which is probably only like 60 milligrams, I'm fine, right?
Hmm.
So there's a threshold.
Of course, yeah.
Um,
And it's finding that out. I think it's a lot of it.
and for most people, again, so like 200 milligrams is kind of a good barometer for like one sitting. So, and that's what most energy drinks are.
Yep.
Again, most normal
Cup of
amounts of
coffee.
coffee, brewed coffee, and then probably in a day 400 milligrams. So going over 400 is going to be you probably want to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Again, if you're a super fast metabolizer and never notice anything, fine. But if you notice you do get some anxiety, jitteriness, the big one that we're going to talk about is your sleep.
Oh, yeah.
If it's affecting your sleep.
We always come back to sleep.
Because a lot of times most people we meet with struggle with sleep. They struggle with falling asleep. They struggle with getting good sleep,
Yep.
feeling
Staying
refreshed in the
asleep.
morning, headaches and everything. And I don't think most people realize how much caffeine is the culprit of all those things.
Mhm.
They just don't connect the dots. Where if one day you had 800 milligrams of caffeine, and the next day you didn't have that energy drink, or you didn't have as many cups of coffee, and then you're getting these crazy headaches.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out. If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
And they can be bad.
Yeah, they can be terrible.
Caffeine withdrawal. So people a lot of times mistake them for migraines, but in actuality, it could be, well, your body, once it gets used to a certain amount of caffeine and it doesn't get it, you get caffeine withdrawals, which is brutal headaches. And so if you're not consistent with your caffeine intake, you're going to have these headaches. And a lot of people end up thinking it's migraines or it's this or that, when in reality it's just inconsistent caffeine intake.
Yeah.
So if you want a starting point, those are good barometers, like 400 milligrams a day, and you're probably like, how do I find that out? Again, Track. That's
Yeah,
one
I
of the
mean,
things
just
you
look
learn
at
when
how
you're-
much am I drinking.
Yeah, tracking, looking at everything you drink. What's the caffeine content?
And it's pretty easy to find, right? If you're drinking 12 ounces of coffee, you can literally Google 12 ounces of coffee caffeine, and you'll have a
Yeah.
pretty good idea. So
and like
it's
I have a
not
little chart
hard
here,
to find.
and they have these charts everywhere. You know, in a normal cup of coffee, again, you're looking around 200.
What's that, 12 ounces?
Yeah,
Put your
Americanos a
glasses
little
on,
less, 150. Then you have stuff like black teas about 50, green teas like 30, a cola soft drink.
A
Who
pop?
calls it cola, man? Is that a northern thing or
I don't know.
Which one is it? I think that's a northern thing. Pop something too. I heard
Pop, yeah, but I feel
some
like
people call it pop. That's like a New Jersey thing.
Ohio too
Or
calls
Ohio.
it pop. Like that whole general region where they
Cola.
do chili wrong.
Hey,
Yeah.
grab me a cola.
A cola. Like what does that mean? Like, or if you say grab me a pop, well, which one?
Yeah,
A soda pop.
and then cola is a general term, but
Cola's dark, right?
a dark. But is it Coca? What if there's Pepsi or Coke?
What if there's Coke and
Sprite.
Dr. Pepper?
Cola.
What do I go with?
I feel like now it's just an old timey thing.
It is, yeah. Grab me a cola.
What if a 12-year-old asked for a cola?
I'd
Would you grab him?
I'd call the cops.
And grab him by his shoulders and be like,
just start shaking him.
"Who are you?" He's probably the.
Where'd you come from?
I mean, we could dive into that Netflix thing where they're talking about like reincarnation, man. These little like 5-year-old kids.
Yeah,
they're
they're
like, I used to be a Hollywood actor, and
Yeah.
and my wife's name was this. That's probably the same kid. It's like, grab me a cola,
Grab
sir.
me a cola.
All right. Well, anyways,
Jesus.
a cola would get you about 30 milligrams.
Just a little hit. A little something, something.
Then
Pop
energy
up a bit.
drinks are going to vary, but they're always on the can.
Yeah, they let you know real clear.
Ooh, here's one that used to get me. So dark chocolate. 1 ounce of dark chocolate is 25 milligrams of caffeine. So I used to like to have dark chocolate as like a treat at night, and then sometimes on the weekend I'd have a whole bar.
Dude, that would keep me up.
And I never was connecting the dots, and
Yeah.
I would sleep bad or be like, why am I so wired? And then but there's a
Dark
lot of caffeine in
chocolate.
there, and there's another compounding chocolate too that
Yeah.
stimulates you. So
dogs
yeah,
can't
so
have
you
it.
may want to kind of take a little
Take inventory.
inventory of your caffeine intake, and a general good rule of thumb, even if you're a fast metabolizer, is to cut your caffeine intake at like noon,
Yep.
right? So it can get out of your system by
Because
the time you go to
sleep
bed.
is important.
Yes, and again, that's where it's going to affect someone the most negatively. Is it's going to impact your sleep.
And then you get into a cycle of, not sleeping and caffeinating because you're tired, and then you're not sleeping
Yep. And then
because you're caffeinated,
And then you're
and
grumpy,
it's just
and because you got bad sleep, and then you have more hunger issues
Yeah,
because your
you're
battery's
hungry,
not
your
charged.
emotions aren't as even keeled as they should be, and
Mm-hmm.
it just it's not a good place to be. But I think a lot of people find themselves there. I've
Well-
periodically been there too.
And here's a common thing: is people use caffeine as a substitute for their lack of sleep,
Mhm.
which then it just perpetuates the cycle.
And it makes it worse and worse
like,
and worse.
You're getting further away from having a chance at having good restorative sleep.
Yep.
And sleep habits, right? So people think, oh, I'm tired, let me have more caffeine. But then it's just a Band-Aid. And the way caffeine works is, so if you rarely consumed it and then had it, you do get some pretty crucial focus benefits,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So if
absolutely.
you imagine like this line, and then it raises, and you get this like awesome threshold of focus, well, over time, you actually you don't keep getting that heightened level. You think you do, but what happens is your baseline lowers, and you need you eventually need more caffeine to get
To that level.
that high, and then you need some just to even, but then that eventually just becomes a baseline that's
Yep.
lower than
to
your
function as
to
completely
function.
normal.
And yeah, then if you miss it, you get some pretty bad withdrawals, right? I mean, again, it's a drug. It's a
Yeah,
super
I mean,
powerful
yeah,
one.
you want to strip it down. It is.
So using caffeine to as
To
a
mask
Band-Aid,
your bad sleep.
yeah,
That's not a good idea.
That's not a good habit.
And I'm sure sometimes, there are periods where this life's out of your control. You got a newborn or something. You just do what you can. That's life. So don't feel like we're, trying to tell everybody in every situation that. But if you aren't in that situation, you do have more control over your sleep, but you just, kind of ignore the problem, then I think it's really good to address.
And again, there's going to be a scale of
Yes.
who's listening to this and how bad this affects them. And some people, they are fast metabolizers. They're not going to experience all the negatives we're talking about, or they would have to consume like
you have
buckets
to drink a lot
of coffee and caffeine.
But if you're like the two of us and you're a slow metabolizer, then you got to check yourself a little bit more, which is just, an unfortunate fact of how you're born.
And then some little interesting tidbits are when it comes to caffeine metabolisms, outside of what your genetic predisposition is, one is pregnancy. So pregnancy slows caffeine metabolism by as much as 15 times.
Which blows my mind.
Crazy. And that happens in the third trimester. So third trimester of pregnancy, it can take 15 times longer to metabolize than normal.
So imagine if you drink coffee regularly.
Yeah, and
like
then
I'm
you're
sure
like
that adds up more and more and more. Like
not getting your fat, and then you would, in theory, you would feel like you need more.
And imagine it's not even clear in your system before you probably have some more too. And which is probably why they
don't recommend it when you're pregnant, right? So that's one thing to consider.
The flip side of that's I think crazy too.
Is so another one, which is an old stereotype, which now we know why, is smoking speeds up caffeine metabolism, right? So, you think of like how, it's a common thing. A lot of people who smoke also like drink coffee like it's water. And and the metabolization, I don't even know the right word, is up to 50%. So literally you can, if you are a slow metabolizer of caffeine, you can improve that
by smoking.
So, obviously,
we don't recommend it.
We don't condone that, but that would explain kind of that stereotypical coffee heavy smoker, heavy coffee drinker.
There's
right?
Science behind it.
Because you need more caffeine to get that
keep
same
you
effect.
Rolling.
So man, could you imagine someone who's a high metabolizer and
smokes and drinks? It's just all day.
Just like
nothing touches
it. People who are like, I drink 3,000 milligrams of caffeine a day. I don't feel nothing. So,
I kind of wish I could be that person.
Yeah. So those are kind of some variants.
I can't do it.
I wonder if it doesn't say, but I wonder if it's like the nicotine.
That's what I think it is. It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to. So what if you chew some nicotine gum?
And both those things are like affect your focus.
Like nicotine's a really potent thing for focusing. Actually,
nicotine and caffeine. I was watching the football game, and they put up a comparison of like Tom Brady and I'm gonna forget who was it. Man, it was some old quarterback that also played into his 40s, and they're kind of comparing like them at their same age. But this dude, Twitter and social media lost their mind because Tom Brady. So they both had a picture of them at 43, and Tom Brady,
looks like a little boy.
And then this dude looked like he was like 86, right? But he also smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
Stop.
And drank heavily. Whereas Tom Brady don't even eat nightshades.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I heard a story with like Wes Welker or Julian Edelman it was Gronk was saying how they got him to take a shot at like the Kentucky Derby, and one shot and he was like, "Oh, what is this gonna do? How am I gonna feel tomorrow?" So obviously he doesn't even probably drink.
Nah.
And anyways, but then I was curious. Did they just say that real offhandedly, like, "Oh, this dude smoked 2 packs a day," which is why he looks so awful.
Did they have pictures of him smoking on the sideline?
So I looked him up, and he actually did, and he took 2 years where he didn't smoke, and he played worse, right? So, and I've always found nicotine fascinating because when you look at the people that use it, so baseball players, military, so you're shooting guns and stuff, hunters. So you have to have an extreme focus.
Periods
in
of
those
extreme
sports,
focus, yeah.
Right? And, in baseball and military, they do chewing tobacco a lot. So, but anyway, so you see where before people really knew what nicotine did, the power of it, how people that required a lot
gravitated
towards it, right? So same thing, this guy, I mean, honestly, he's like, man, I play better when I smoke 2 packs a day. So that's why he kept doing it, which Yeah, he probably did.
Yeah.
Especially at quarterback, and so you just get a certain focus, right? And if you're used to that when you play a sport, you're going to miss that when you don't have
When
it.
you take it away.
So, and I just found that interesting, and yeah, then you double
That
it up
does
with some
make sense.
caffeine. You're locked in, man.
Yeah, laser focused.
Get like video gamers. That would
Yeah. There's a lot of people that like chew nicotine gum now for focus.
Yep.
Like they don't want to smoke cigarettes, but they still want the nicotine. That stuff's addicting.
Yeah.
Addictive.
A lot of riders and things like that. So, yeah, stack your caffeine with some nicotine.
Like I'm curious, but I'd be the person that would get hooked on it and start smoking cigarettes after I chew gum. I can't
It's
afford.
expensive.
It is, dude. I see people buy them like in the store. Holy crap! Especially if you're a pack-a-dayer.
Yeah.
Dude, they're like what, $7 or something a pack?
It's a pound of grass-fed ground beef right there.
Yeah. That's like a bowl at Chipotle for lunch every day.
Mm.
Oh my god!
What if that's how
You weigh all your
you
purchases.
stuck to some of those money things, and then that's how you like do math in your head? So
Yeah.
say you're at the store and you're like, you get a T-shirt. You're at Old Navy, right? And they're like, that'll be $33, sir. And you're like, ooh, that's 7 Chipotles. Excuse me?
You know there's someone that
That's
does
7
that.
Chipotles and a scoop of guac on one.
That's too heavy for me.
Hey, no, even better. You work at Old Navy. Someone gets rung up, and their bill is $33. And instead of saying $33, you say, that'll be 3 burritos and 1 scoop of guac, sir.
Why?
And they don't hesitate, and they hand you $33.
They're like, oh yeah, I know how much that is. It's a lot though, man. It's a lot of food. That's how I think I equate most things.
That'll be, what did we say, $33?
$33.
That'll be 3 pounds of ground beef and 4 pounds of chicken breast, sir.
Thank you, please. I do think about things like
Oh,
that.
so
though.
$33? Yeah.
When there's like kind of, I'm not going to say a useless purchase, but something I really don't need, and I see how much it is, I'm like, damn. Like, how much meat could I buy with that?
Or I just think about my total grocery bill.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, man.
say it's like, oh, I normally spend $75 a week, and you get something that's like, $80. You go out for dinner, nice little date night.
You're like, that's my whole week of groceries.
Oof.
That's painful. It really is.
Mm.
I don't know. I try to keep the grocery bill low, though.
You go buy a Tesla. You're like $70,000. Oh, that's
1,000 weeks of groceries. What's that, 20 years? 20 years of groceries on a car?
Yeah, I mean, you could just drive yourself nuts.
Yeah.
You could create like
We need to stop doing it because I'm going to accidentally start doing
it'd
this
be like
now.
an eating disorder, but it'd be like a financial disorder.
Yeah, your food math.
And so you end up never buying anything.
Ugh.
You just walk around naked with no shoes.
Can someone let us know that if anyone else does food math when they buy things? Because I need to know that I'm not alone.
This is where I wish we were like a live radio show sometimes.
Yeah, we get some callers. That would be fun, actually.
Like right now would be the perfect time to get some input.
Call them in. Does anybody else do this? No. You guys are insane. Oh,
Well,
man.
All right. Some coffee math.
Yep, so takeaways today. Just do an inventory on how much caffeine you drink. And realize that like just because you have one gigantic cup of coffee doesn't mean it's 1 cup.
Yes.
Just, I want to throw that out there because it's really...
Did I ever tell you about when I was a young trainer and I would dog sit, and one of my clients their dogs were really overweight. And they'd be like, I don't know why. I feed them what they're supposed to be fed.
Stop.
And
I'm not ready.
So this was when I was just training them, and they'd be like, yeah, I give them a cup a day. Like the thing says to give them a cup of the food. And I was like, they're like, yeah, give them a cup a day.
Was it a big gulp
Dude,
cup?
when I went to dog sit, and they were like, the cups in the container, and I went in, and it was like a big gulp cup. It was like it was a 40 ouncer, man.
Dude, how many cups
And they were
is
like,
that?
I was like, like the dog food bag, like a cup means like an 8 ounce cup, right? And they were like, So they were essentially giving them 4 times the food. But in their mind, they're like, it's a cup.
That's a really good
Like, this is a cup.
parallel to how, like, we need to measure everything correctly
Yeah.
when we're tracking everything.
I only have 1 cup of coffee a day, sir. But then it's like a big
A 32-ounce
40-ounce
coffee
Yeah.
or a 40-ounce
So,
coffee.
yes, realize you need to kind of,
Do your inventory. I recommend this to people, and it's not fun or anything, but I think everybody should give up caffeine for a period of time to see how they feel.
And if you do that, you probably want to go take what you're normally drinking and do a little less over time. Because if you go cold
turkey's brutal if you've been drinking coffee for a while.
Those headaches are insane. Now, I say that,
It'll
I'm the
shut you
type of
down.
person where the only way for me to give it up when I did was to go cold turkey.
Oh, that's the only way I can do it, too.
Fight through it for like 4 days.
But I'm not, I guess encouraging people to do that. But I think it is interesting to see how you operate without it. And it's just kind of nice to, like, if you feel like you truly need it, like, I can't do anything without this, it's kind of nice to test that and, I don't know, take a little bit of control and say, like, oh, I don't really need it. So, I don't know. That's just kind of the rebel, the tester in me to do things like that. But
yeah,
I think it's beneficial. I've always, gotten something out of it.
So take your inventory, just have an idea of how much you consume, and then from there, notice how you feel. Are you someone who it doesn't bother? Then, you're probably getting a lot of health benefits from it. Coffee itself versus, coffee versus a coffee version of caffeine versus an energy drink version.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get some health benefits from the coffee, from the phytochemicals of the coffee bean itself. And then, if you don't feel great drinking caffeine, you get side effects, you struggle to sleep, you should probably definitely make sure you're not over-consuming.
Yep.
Because then it can have negative health benefits.
Yeah, it kind of goes the opposite direction, too.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Like, if you've been drinking coffee for a while and it actually makes you more tired when you have coffee,
that's a good sign. And that's how I am. Like, I could almost feel like under my eyes.
It's the weirdest
heavier
feeling
by drinking more coffee.
Yeah. So if you feel that, then you really, I think, need to take a step back and, cut it down and you got to accept that you're not going to feel how you normally do for a period of time, but it's usually better in the long run.
Yeah.
So,
everyone we've coached through it, and myself going through it.
Yep.
You get to such a better place.
I agree,
I'm like, this is how I need to operate.
Yep.
I operate so much better without caffeine.
Same.
And now it's like a treat, man. Maybe a weekend thing or a monthly thing where, I'm going to have coffee because I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, too, it's kind of used it's like the same reason, hey, let me have a couple cocktails on the weekend to get a buzz.
Yep.
I enjoy, and that's the other benefit of when you don't have it often.
Yeah, the feelings are way stronger.
When you have it, man, you get that little caffeine buzz.
It's like when you don't drink and you have 2 shots, and like for me, dude, 2 shots would put me down right now because we don't ever drink. And that's we go out every Saturday now. We usually go out and get a coffee at a new place, so it's kind of like our fun thing to do of like trying a new coffee shop, going somewhere new because everything's a little different, and it's a little more fun that way, I think. So,
all right, well, cheers.
Cheers.
Clang your coffee.
Just coffee before 12 is my recommendation.
Yep. So again, try and cut your caffeine at noon. If you notice you have sleep issues, if you still have sleep issues, you might want to look into no caffeine.
Yep.
And if you're interested, do one of those 23andMe tests. It'll tell you straight up.
Tell you who you are.
Straight up, tell me. What is that, Paula
Straight
Abdul?
up, tell me. Yeah, it's Paula Abdul, I think.
Do you really forever?
Oh. No one wants to hear that, man. Neither of us.
Holler back.
Catch you later. As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.